Welcome one, welcome all. The Week 16 NFL Millie Roundtable goes on, and happy holidays or Merry Christmas, whatever you prefer. We are 2 days away from Christmas, and we have a whole bunch of Christmas Eve games. We have a 9-game slate, and I'm joined by Snyder, who I saw that you threw it in there. I got in on it too. The Steelers-Bengals over 38. That one sailed over. The Steelers almost did it all by themselves. It was definitely with no help from the Bengals, but it was a good call there too. And I'm also joined by Bruce, one of the best in the business, especially in college football. And also the NFL streets have been very kind to him from what I've seen from the outside looking in. I know that it's good to have you here, Bruce. Good to have you here, Snyder. Snyder, I'll kick it to you first, man. How have you been? How are the Saturday games treating you?
Yeah, the Saturday games are doing all right. I was on the Chargers early on Monday. I got that in at 14, so that's looking pretty good so far. They're actually leading. I didn't expect them to come out so strong, but usually when those coaches get fired and such, and the Bills were off of a couple big wins traveling across country, I thought it could have been a little flat spot for them. So it's kind of looking that way early. Hopefully I can hold on, but excited to dive into this. We got a nice 9-game slate here, and then backed up with another 3-gamer on Monday. So it's going to be a fun couple of days of football here.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of fun. I know the Christmas games look really appealing. Then at first glance, these look decent. Bruce, how have you been, man? How's the college bowl season been?
Been great. I didn't even know there was an NFL slate until maybe about an hour till when Kay Fallick sent a message out that said, anyone playing Leonard Fournette? And I was like, okay, well, I'm definitely not playing this slate. So yeah, just avoided it and dug into the Sunday slate. Usually my process is wake up early on Sunday, maybe 5 or so, and start digging in. So starting a little early this week, and it's looks like a good slate to me. Got a little killed last week playing Case Keenum and trying to jam all the studs. I got all the studs wrong. So, but yeah, looking forward to bounce back this week. Just some solid games.
I very much felt that pain of Case Keenum, despite getting CMC and Kyron into the same team. It was the other pieces that faulted me. Even with CD Lamb's late touchdown, it wasn't enough to save me. But we got a new chance, a new 9 games, and should be a great time as usual. I will use Saber Sim to kind of keep tab of each game. So if you guys want to follow along, we'll be going through that order. And Snyder, I'll kick it to you first. We're going to start with the Lions at the Minnesota Vikings, a dome game. As we get further and further into December, the weather has become a little bit more ugly as the season has gone on. But no huge concerns this week, but still. A dome game. You get Justin Jefferson going against this secondary that has struggled often in this latter half of the season. You get Ty Chandler, who is still the lead back there in Minnesota after absolutely destroying the Cincinnati Bengals last week after DJ Reader went down. And you also have 2 other double-digit ownership guys who are Nick Mullins and Amon-Ra St. Brown. How's this game looking for you? It seems like we got a lot of ownership with Jefferson and Chandler. Are you planning on getting them in today or tomorrow?
Yeah, I think this is one of the best games to kind of start off with here. One of the best games on the slate as well. We got a high total here inside the dome like you're talking about. And I just ran the base sims before the show to see what the sims were kicking out. Ran the contest sims for the Million Maker, and then Chandler was hitting on 24% of the sims there. So he was one of the higher owned guys of any player there. Justin Jefferson was right there with him at 23%. Chandler was awesome last week. I mean, he almost ran for 6 yards of a carry, just under 6 yards a carry, 132 yards and a touchdown last week, 27 DK points. Great outing from him there. And then we got Justin Jefferson as well, 8-1. That's a good price tag on Justin Jefferson. He still saw the targets last week. Just didn't compile them like we saw early in the year from him. But 10 targets, caught 7 for 84. Jefferson is a great play here. His ownership's right around where he was hitting on the sims too. So I will try and get overweight on these guys here. Nick Mullins is going to be kind of one of the more popular quarterbacks here. He's just underpriced here at 5.3. I mean, you can get the stack there. Mullins, you could run all 3 of them. I think you could run even the running back there. It might be a little bit unique if you just put them all 3 in a lineup, because I think a lot of people are either going to do the Jefferson, Mullins, or the Chandler. If you run them all 3 together, I think you can almost onslaught this game, and I think that's would kind of help you get a little bit unique. You got Hawkinson there too at 5.8. I mean, the price tag on him is way too cheap for his upside. Hasn't been the greatest from him, but he's still getting double-digit points about every single time he laces them up. So Hawkinson's got that upside. We saw 33 points a few weeks back, so we know the upside's there with him, and I think he's going to come in kind of a little lower owned. So he's another guy I'll be looking to jam in there as well. And Laporta was hitting in the Sims, I think around 10 to 12%. So he's a guy you can look to run it back with, or any of those Lions guys. You got ASB right there at 8-2. I don't know if I can play both ASB and Jefferson together. We'll see how it works for the teams and such, but that's a lot of salary with those two. But I definitely like the Viking side of this quite a bit here.
Yeah, the Vikings side looks really good. I mean, just attacking the Detroit Lions has been pretty good of late. Obviously, the Denver Broncos did a great job, did not do a great job going against this Lions team, but they still had guys like Sutton and others kind of getting there. Jerry Jeudy had a few plays there too. I do like this game a lot, and what you said is the best. Like, you get Jefferson at 8-1. He went out with a chest injury the game before, and then last game, Mullins kind of was getting his feet a little bit wet. I think another week is going to get him very comfortable. Bruce, are you going to be all over Justin Jefferson despite the 30% ownership this week?
Yeah, I still think he's a great play this week. Another guy I think that's going to be a little bit under-owned is Jameson Williams. He's bumped up to almost 70% snaps. Saw 7 targets last week, and he's 3,700. Just an explosive player out of Alabama, and I just think he's a great play this week, along with Justin Jefferson and ASB as well. I think those guys are just they're priced up, but they're priced well. This is one of the better game environments of the week, in my opinion. The total looks good. You got 47.5, which the highest total on the week, other than Miami, Dallas. So yeah, it's one of the better games. It's hard for me to play Nick Mullins just because he's Nick Mullins, but if you play Jefferson, it makes a lot of sense. But yeah, I think he's a solid play at 5,300 on DraftKings. And the running backs, Ty Chandler, I think he's a solid play, but I think there's other guys in that price range that are kind of better plays that we'll get to down the line. I think Jahmyr Gibbs at 7K, even though he's in a split and kind of game script dependent, I think he's still a good play. Just his explosive ability to break runs and catch passes. I think he's more than a good play there. And Sam Laporta, I've been playing him almost every week. 6 targets the last 2 weeks, and 7 targets per game the last 8 weeks or so. So I think he's a great play, and just on the field the whole game. So I will be on him again tomorrow.
Yeah, Laporta's 3 touchdown performance last game was absolutely awesome. As someone who was overweight on the Lions in best ball, it makes me very happy to see that Jared Goff and Laporta combined 3 times last week. It's a great point, too, on Jameson Williams. This is a guy who has obviously battled an injury early in his career. Missed like a lot of the first half of the season last year, then the suspension this year. But we did see a lot of snaps last week, and we also saw a few targets. And a guy with a major big play ability going against a Minnesota team where, despite their defense being well, I think this Lions offense can click a little bit. It does have a lot of interest at under 4K. Like, you don't get that good of a player at under 4K. It's just the snaps need to come along with it, and those trending up is definitely something that we love to see. I'm with you guys. I think Jefferson's great chalk. I think Chandler really benefited in a great spot last week against the Bengals where Reeder went down. I don't think he's bad at all, but I do want to temper my expectations with the running back position just because I prefer to attack the secondary of the Lions. And Jefferson and Mullins might allow me to do that a little bit more. You also get Hawkinson under 6K, which is great. The one guy who, always has upside, and he's still projecting for under 5% ownership. I mean, Jordan Addison showcased last week. I know it was a lucky play that he got on the long touchdown for his first one, but he does have a ton of upside. And if defense are going to double team Jefferson and stuff, you saw what can happen. But yeah, great game to start us out with. Should be a fun time. I personally hope it's a high-scoring game just so my Viking stacks can see the finish line and maybe get into that final round. But a lot of love to go around both sides here. And let's go ahead and go to the Indianapolis Colts against the Atlanta Falcons. So Arthur Smith is still sadly in charge, despite being fined, what was it, $25,000? The organization being fined $75,000. So $100K overall for the whole Bijan cover-up and the concussion scandal that never was, or the migraine scandal, whatever you want to call it. Despite that, you get 2 running backs here with double-digit ownership. And they are the only 2 guys with double-digit ownership. That is Jonathan Taylor at 23%, which seems very high for a guy 7,200. Obviously Zach Moss is presumably out. So yeah, Zach Moss is going to miss this one, it looks, right?
Yeah, I think Michael Pittman actually Michael Pittman just got declared out too.
Yep.
Really? Because he was trending in. No way.
They just downgraded him like maybe 30 minutes to an hour ago.
So Jonathan Taylor is in. But you got Zach Moss out. You got Michael Pittman out. This kind of leaves this Indianapolis Colts offense with a little bit barren right now. The way that you attack this Falcons defense is usually through the tight end position. The problem is the Colts play 4 tight ends. And it's not just like the Bengals where it's like, oh, yeah, Tanner Hudson's the pass catcher. No, Will Mallory's great, but hey, he's only going to play 25% of the snaps. And then we'll go to 25% to Kylan Granson stuff. Snyder, the running backs here, Bijan and JT, are both incredible. I think that Bijan at 900 cheaper is the better play. But do you have your eyes on a guy like Drake London at 5,100, even Kyle Pitts, who's 4K flat? Anyone like that?
Yeah, for this game, just start at the running back spot here. Bijan Robinson is going to be pretty popular, I think. I just made, like about 7 or 8 weeks ago, I made the decision to just not play him anymore this year, and it hasn't killed me yet. So I'm just going to keep trending right there. I'm not going to be tilting when Arthur Smith, gives him 6 carries tomorrow or something dumb like that, like he did last week. He had 7 carries for 11 yards last week. It's just wild how they don't even attempt to use him at times this year. But I'll probably be off of Bijan. I think Jonathan Taylor is a solid play here. I think they're going to look to try and incorporate him as much as possible here with all the injuries there, with Pittman out now especially. But with Pittman out now, we're going to see Josh Downs again. But a guy that caught my eye last week was a second-year guy, DJ Montgomery at 3.3K. Last week he played 42 of 67 snaps, had 4 targets, caught 2 of them for 48 yards and a touchdown. So I actually like DJ Montgomery quite a bit at 3.3K. Hopefully his ownership doesn't spike any here, but he's definitely my favorite or preferred punt play here this week on this slate at 3.3. So I'm going to have a decent amount of exposure to DJ Montgomery this week. Kyle Pitts is another one of those guys I just generally don't play over the last couple of years. This hasn't really hurt me at all yet this year. I know he's had a couple games this year, right around 14 DK points or so, but Pitts is just another one of those guys that I just kind of hit the X on, and it's a lot easier living without playing Pitts and Bijan. But I mean, they both have enormous upsides. I mean, if they decide to get the ball to him there. For the Colts, it's just tough there. I generally had been like a Kylan Granson guy if I was going to play a Colts tight end, but I generally don't, like outside of like showdowns and stuff. I'd play Granson some as a punt play in showdowns and such, so I think he's fine. Or Mo Alley Cox would be another guy I might look to at the tight end position. He caught a touchdown the last 2 games, Cox did, but hasn't really done much. He's only playing at about a third to a half the snaps as well. So you could pick, I think, between those two if you want like a cheap, dusty tight end at 2.6 or 2.5. But DJ Montgomery is the guy I'm going to hitch my wagons to this week from the Colts offense.
Yeah, DJ Montgomery made a very positive impression in just a short time last week. After Michael Pittman went down, he made big play, and he could have caught even more. I think he had a couple of drops in there too. So I do like that call there. Bruce, without Michael Pittman there, this wide receiving core is going to look different. Obviously, Montgomery is Snyder's favorite. Is Montgomery one of your favorites? And what do you think about Josh Downs as well? 5,500 projecting for under 6% ownership.
Yeah, I think Downs is probably my preferred play from this game. I do like Bijan. Arthur Smith just has a punchable face. Every time I see him on TV, I I just want to punch him in the face. Maybe it's because he always just rotates guys unnecessarily, and like Pitts, like Jonnu Smith was in there last week, just catching long passes, pissing me off because I had Pitts. I think he had 2 for 61, while Pitts was in there just getting 10-yard receptions, and it was working to get Smith open. So yeah, it was pain. I just mostly fade Atlanta games because I know they're going to run the football. I hate this game just altogether. If I'm going to play anybody, it's probably Downs and maybe some Bijan. But yeah, I even hate that. You just never know what Arthur Smith is going to do. So I just hate the game.
No, I understand that without a doubt. It is worth noting that.
Rubio? Okay.
Hold on. Lenny just carried the ball down to the 2-yard line here. So we might have a playoff Lenny appearance here in week 16. He might get into the end zone here. I don't want to jinx it because I almost locked him on Showdown for what it's worth. But I am getting a little excited. But I agree with you completely on Arthur Smith. I will say the Colts defense is awful. Despite what the Steelers did last week to try and make it look good, this Colts defense has been gashed every single week, and they are not a good defense at all. We have seen what Jake Browning can do against a bad defense, but then he played a decent one today in the Steelers, well, arguably decent with all the injuries and stuff. I just think that this Falcons team, whether we like it or not, is going to score points. And I hate to say it, but like Bijan, I want to trust. The problem is, I know that Arthur Smith is going to just go ahead and just jam in Tyler Algier for 20 touches if he could. But I do think the prices are very cheap. You get Drake London, a premium number 1 wide receiver who gets a bump with Heineke in there. I mean, Ritter, I love the guy. UC legend, loosely UC legend. I mean, he did special things in that playoff semifinal against Alabama where they didn't score an offensive touchdown. So that makes him a legend in my book. But yes, we do get Heineke, who should probably benefit Drake London a bit. I think it benefits Kyle Pitts just a bit too. And I think just overall, like Bijan should get fed in this spot. So I'm really high on the Falcons. Sad to say it, but I do like the value that you guys brought up. Like Josh Downs is very good talent. The matchup is tougher for wide receivers, but that's just because of the pace. I know pace has a lot to do with it, but yeah, should be a good game to kind of target to. Another dome one, and we're going to go away from domes for this one, and it's the Washington Commanders at the New York Jets. Sam Howell is going to remain the starter, so if you're wondering how did Jacoby Brissett look late in that game, he looked very good. But Sam Howell is going to start here against the Jets. It's not a great spot at all. However, this Jets defense has been exposed a bit. Jalen Waddle made them look like fools, made DJ Reed look like burnt toast. It's a good, decent, sneaky game because the Jets, for the first time I can remember, are implied 20 points. And they're usually implied 12 points. That just shows how bad this Commanders defense is. Guys like Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson are projecting for ownership in around 17 to 20%. But Snyder, should I not be buying the Jets this week? Like a little Simeon at 4,700. I kind of want to buy the Jets.
Yeah, I think they're definitely firmly in play here. I ran the Sims before the show, like I mentioned earlier, and a Jet was the highest percentage owned guy in the Sims. Hit the Sims the highest, and it wasn't actually a player; it was the Jets defense. They hit on 44% of teams. So I actually do like the Jets defense quite a bit. I know they're going to be pretty popular. They'll probably be around 30% owned. I potentially might even just lock them in, though. I mean, I think this is a great bounce back spot for this Jets defense, who had been scoring double-digit points 3 of their last 5 games. So I think this is a great spot against a Washington team that's just not good. So I'm going to be backing the Jets, and I'm going to be correlating the Jets defense with some Breece Hall, too, at 6-1. I think this is a great spot for Breece Hall to have one of those smash games that we've seen a couple of times this year. It hasn't been as consistent this year, but he's been consistently getting double-digit points. The Jets are just so bad that they finally get a good matchup here. I think this is a spot where we could see Breece Hall even put up potentially 30 DK points this week. So I have quite a bit of conviction on Breece Hall with the Jets defense, that little correlation this week. So I'm going to be high on that. I will mix in some Garrett Wilson as well. He was hitting the Sims at a decent rate too, like right around 20%. we know the upside he gets. If Simeon can just get him the ball in the open field, this dude can make this Commanders secondary look like fools, I think. So he can have him skating on ice this week. So I definitely we'll have some Wilson in the pool as well. It's hard for me to decide which guy I would bring back with the Washington. It'd probably be like Curtis Samuel. I've been playing him a little bit the last few weeks. And then I'm always the Dotson over McLaurin guy. So if it came down to those two, I'd probably play Dotson, but I don't see myself getting to either of those two guys. It would mainly just be with a Curtis Samuel with the run back there if I ran it back. But I definitely do like the Hall Jets defense correlation quite a bit this week.
Yeah, Jets defense projected to be the chalkiest defense, and I should have mentioned that. That's a great point there, and it definitely associates well with Breece Hall, though. The run offense hasn't been effective. He's been very effective in the past game, and yes, Garrett Wilson under 6K against this secondary. Bruce, are you buying the Jets this week?
Yeah, this is the tough game for me because I love attacking this Washington defense that doesn't know what defense they want to run, especially ever since they switched to Ron Rivera as the DC. Now that he's calling plays, they've looked even worse if that's possible. And I really like Garrett Wilson. He was targeted quite a bit after Simeon came into the game. I think 6 of his first 12 passes went his way. So I love the spot for Garrett Wilson. I don't love the quarterback, but at least he'll see the volume here. I think Breece Hall is probably the best running back on the slate tomorrow, in my opinion. Just his ability to hit home runs every time, and his pass catching ability. The spot, Washington's given up 30 points per game to running backs this year, and it's just a great spot for him. You don't have to rely on Trevor Siemian to get him the ball. So I think he's in a just a really great spot, and I'll have a ton tomorrow, and I'll probably mix in some Curtis Samuel. Like Snyder said, I also play a lot of Curtis Samuel, and his 2 touchdown game last week was solid. I thought he looked good as well with even with Hal in there. I think when Brissett came in the second half, he looked good as well. So I'll have some Samuel, but I really like Garrett Wilson, on the other side. And then Breece Hall is probably my favorite play.
Yeah, the easiest thing for me to say is, oh, look how bad this Washington defense is. Look how bad the secondary is. But they've been equally bad against running backs. So you obviously said, they're conceding over 30 points a game to the running back position here, and you guys are both on Breece Hall. I find it hard to avoid Breece Hall at 6,100. It's the first time in a while that the Jets are favored against a bad defense. And you have to assume that, hey, we don't want Trevor Siemian throwing the ball a lot. It could mean a large workload for Breece Hall. It's definitely going to join you guys there. I also think Garrett Wilson is good chalk under 6K. You saw it last week. He was able to get the ball to him, and that's just something that he needs. 5,800 is just it's a joke of a price, and it has been that price all year, so I can't say it's been a joke of a price. But against this Washington matchup, I do think that all 3 of the Jets, the Jets defense, Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson are all good chalk. Trevor Siemian, probably a little bit too thin, but I think I can entertain it at 4,700 in large field tournaments here. But yes, we saw it last week. Brian Robinson is still out. Antonio Gibson was not the featured running back at all. It was Rodriguez, and God, who else was it other than Rodriguez there that was also getting snaps? So Chris Rodriguez got it, and it was someone else. It was so frustrating to watch if you played Antonio Gibson, because you would have thought that he would be the bell cow, and no, it wasn't the case.
Jonathan Williams.
Yeah. He's questionable, so that means Derek Gore might get some carries, it looks like. So, but Antonio Gibson not being the featured back, despite a great script going against the Rams, is something that was a very big turnoff for me. I don't like targeting wide receivers against this Jets defense. McLaurin is great, but Jalen Waddle without Hill under-owned did great, right? Let elite wide receivers with good quality quarterbacks do their thing against the Jets. Do I think that Washington is a good quality quarterback to do that? No, I'll move on. I'll go to another spot. I'll take my chance on a subpar quarterback with Garrett Wilson against that defense rather than going against a good defense. So we'll move on to the Cleveland Browns and Houston Texans. So obviously it looks like CJ Stroud is out. Case Keenum had his struggles in about the first half there. He kind of got it going a little bit late. Still wasn't overly impressive. However, this game, as any Cleveland Browns game is, it's never really owned at all. You have 3 guys approaching double-digit ownership, though. I guess not just approaching it, exceeding it. Devin Singletary is projected for the highest ownership, Snyder, so 16.59%. He looked awesome last week. He also had a large 40-yard run for the win last week, called back. His stat line was very impressive, and it could have been even better if that run wasn't called back due to a hold. Jerome Ford also at 12% here, and David Njoku, who has been just an absolute menace since Joe Flacco took over at quarterback. Decent game. I mean, the Texans are always going to be a pace-up spot. Do you have more interest on the Browns side or the Texans side here tonight?
Yeah, I think I'm going to have more interest in the Browns side. And actually, the Sims actually love the Browns side in that run that I ran. We had Flacco hitting 30% of the Sims. Njoku was at 26. Elijah Moore was actually at 26 too, edging out Amari at 20%. So I think this is a great spot where we could see this game kind of shoot out, as the Browns defense has been one of the best defenses this year when they're at home. But when they're away from home, they've been one of the worst defenses in the league. So I think there's some chance for some back and forth in this game. I know the total's only sitting at 40 points, but I think this is a spot where we could see some points and fantasy goodness here. So Elijah Moore's at 4.2. The game logs don't look that great from him, but I love the upside that he's got for 4.2K, and Flacco's going to chuck. So I think this is a spot where we could see, like, for tournaments. So like large field tournaments, I think Moore's a great play. And then I'm going to go right back to my guy Njoku. I had him in the core last week. He that last drive was huge for my main team. It didn't ship anything, but it definitely helped me ladder up last week. So that was big. Caught 10 of 14 targets last week, 104 yards receiving, and caught a touchdown. 2 touchdowns the week before, 1 touchdown last week. I think Njoku's a good bet to find the end zone once again this week at 5.3 in a position that we generally don't like to play guys in with the tight end position so bad usually. So I definitely will have I will be above the field with Njoku again this week. And then from like the running back standpoint, Singletary was hitting the Sims a little bit. I guess you could go there if you want. Ford's right there too at 5.4. I just worry about Kareem Hunt still in the snaps. Like last week, he saw only 35 of 69 snaps, only had 8 carries. So I think Ford's a little thin, but he's a good like upside play for like the Millie Maker or something, though, if you want to play sprinkle him in there some. Mainly it's just the Brown side, though, for me here. You could run it back with some of these guys from Houston if you want, the pass catchers too. John Minchie's 3K. You can run him in there. I think he played a few snaps last week, not much. Actually, he actually saw a dip in snaps last week. I know he played a decent amount 2 weeks ago. Last week he only played 8 though, so yeah, that's probably a little too thin with him. But yeah, I think this is a good spot for some back and forth though. I definitely like the Brown side of the ball much better though.
Yeah, and it's one of those games where I think you mentioned this throughout the entire season. Like the Browns away from home are a much worse defense in terms of, when they're away from the dog pound, they're able to be attacked a little bit. And also your Njoku point, Big T has posted his flow chart on the site. He'll probably tweet it out for free. But remember, Giblets 44, the last day you can use it is Christmas Day. That is confirmed. 44% off your first payment, whether it's a week or whether it's a month. Guys, Merry Christmas. Use some of that Christmas money if you want or something. Just get a weekly pass even to find out more info as well. But David Njoku gets the best tight end spot of the week here. So with his form that he's been in, and obviously he is beloved by Prez Wiley here. He tweets about him 3 times a day, it seems, on David Njoku. Bruce, is Njoku one of your top tight ends on the board this week?
Yeah, I think he has to be. We always attack Houston with tight ends, and that's it's just one of the better spots on the board. I think I saw that Flacco has attempted 133 passes in his 3 starts. So yeah, he's going to chuck, and Njoku is the recipient of a lot of those. I love him. As you mentioned, Browns away from home is a big deal. I'm going to run over a couple of games away from home here recently. Rams have scored 36. Broncos scored 29. Ravens scored 31, Seahawks scored 24, and Colts scored 38. So, I know it's Case Keenum, but, this Browns defense just looks different away from home. And, I think they're able to put up some points. My favorite play on the Texans tomorrow is Nico Collins. I think, he's back from injury, and he's a man beater. That's what Cleveland likes to run. So I think he has a big day. I know Noah Brown's been doing a lot of work, but I think Collins is that guy tomorrow. I also like Amari Cooper a little bit. I think he's back as well, last I saw. So he should have a big game tomorrow. I like him and Njoku a ton. I just think they have big games. I don't love Singletary as much, even though his snap count is up there. Cleveland is decent against the run. He has looked good though, so I guess I don't mind it, but I'd rather attack them through the air. Nico Collins, probably one of my favorite plays tomorrow. I think Cedric Tillman has actually looked good too. 8 targets last week, and playing most of the snaps as well. So I think he's still a solid play. But yeah, I kind of love this game to stack it up, kind of like Snyder said in big tournaments. With Flacco and a couple of his receivers as well. I think that's a valid play tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, like we said, the Texans are a pace-up spot, and it's also worth noting, too, the Nico Collins play, just to piggyback off it, Noah Brown was arguably the best play on the slate last week. Not a lot of people were on him. He was the clear number 1 wide receiver for the Texans, in case Keenum could deliver him the ball. Who's to say that won't happen with Nico Collins back from his calf injury? 6,800. Not the worst tag in the world. He's going to come in at 1% ownership projected. That is a very good tournament play. This is a game where it's kind of got a sneaky high total. You wouldn't expect it to have a 40-point total like Browns games, but it does. And this Case Keenum can play, just like the way he kind of did in the second half. He played a lot better than he did in the first half. Points can be had here, so I definitely like those calls there. I don't think I have anything really to piggyback off you guys of. Love Njoku, like those wide receiver calls there. And yeah, I think Elijah Moore at 4,200, like you said, Snyder, you talked about him. I do think that's a pretty good value. And I think we can safely move on to the Seattle Seahawks and the Tennessee Titans game. So the Seahawks are implied about 23 points. Will Levis is going to miss out on this one. And right now, as things stand, it should be Ryan Tannehill who gets to start. However, you never know. Sometimes could it be Malik Willis? You never know. But you have DeAndre Hopkins projecting for 20% ownership. Chig Okonkwo is projected for about 14%, and Treylon Burks at 13%. These all seem very high. And I know that Tannehill is a serviceable quarterback. He'd be taken by a lot of teams if he was their backup quarterback. But still, backup quarterback and 3 weapons in the teen numbers or higher ownership does seem to be a little bit of a turnoff. But the Seahawks here, you get Lockett. He's the only guy projected for double-digit ownership in a pass funnel. And I don't know if Jonathan Simmons is back. I should probably check that real quick. But you have Lockett projected for some ownership at 5,600. Geno Smith is going to return from injury after missing out the last 2 weeks where Drew Lock took place. Snyder, what are you doing with this one here? It's not a terrible game, but it does feel like the Tennessee ownership's a bit high.
Yeah, for sure. We saw last week Ken Walker actually kind of had a little resurgence there. Pete loves to run the ball, so maybe mixing some Ken Walker in at 6-2 isn't a bad situation here. They're favored here on the road. I am kind of worried that this is kind of a slog, though. This is kind of one of those like Mike Vrabel spots where you think they should be dead in this game and no way they can win this game, and then Vrabel gets his team up and they ends up winning like an ugly game, like 13-10 or something. I could kind of see this game being like 17-13, 10-13, some type of like ugly game like that. So I'm not going to be too overly invested in this. It's Vrabel at home as an underdog. Generally, those are the spots I like to target him, at least from a betting aspect. It's Vrabel at home as an underdog. So I think I'm going to be a little light on this game, but I think Jackson Smith-Njigba is still – like we've been talking him up this whole year. He had a good game last week. That catch he had, that winning touchdown catch was just unreal. We've seen him make those catches. Bruce knows this from all the CFB days. Smith-Njigba is just a stud out there. Definitely has the upside. And the 4 or 5 tag is very good for him. He should be under 10% ownership too, I think. So he's a great option there. You got Treylon Burks also at 3-1. He showed a little bit last week. He played his snap share went up last week from the week before too. Caught 3 for 62. I think he's an interesting punt play there at 3.1K. That's another punt play I'll be looking to sprinkle in there with DJ Montgomery at 3-1. I like the price tag on there, but I don't think I'm going to be overly stacking this thing up or anything. I keep looking to see if Tyjae Spears is going to kind of overtake Henry, but he hasn't really done it yet. Last week, he played 33 of 63 snaps, so about half the snaps. Only had 9 carries for 30 yards and didn't do too much in the passing game. After catching 6 balls the week before, only caught 1 last week. So that was a little hurtful there from Spears. But 4.7 from him is still a great price tag. But I'm going to be kind of off of this game. Maybe just some one-offs though in this game, as I feel this is going to be kind of a slower variable game here we see.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. They could be a little bit of a slog, and I want that cat. Great name. Jeffrey Simmons is out for the year. So he was placed on IR, 2 season-ending IR. So that does mean, like he said in his next sentence, Seahawks could be able to run a lot. And I do think that could be the case for a guy like Kenneth Walker. Miss a practice, will be in. Does that change your perspective at all? I mean, you might have probably already known that Jeffrey Simmons was out there, Bruce, but the Titans without Jeffrey Simmons are able to be ran on a little bit more. Like, it's not a clear pass funnel like it has been in the past, because Jeffrey Simmons is one of the best run stoppers in the entire league. But still, it's not a terrible spot for offenses, specifically in the pass game. Are you more on the Seahawks or the Titans here?
I think I'm going to have some one-offs in this one. Like Snyder, I don't love the game environment. I don't think that Vrabel trusts Tannehill, if that's who it is. I don't think they'll run Willis out there. I think he hates Willis even more. But I just don't think he loves Tannehill that much. And I do have some interest though in some Hopkins at 6,100. Possibly. These target numbers are crazy. 9, 12, and 12 the last 3 weeks. And, I know that's with Levis in there, but, Tannehill can throw the ball to him as well. And I have a little bit of interest in him as a one-off. Kenneth Walker is interesting. He got 56% of the snaps last week, which is, more than what Charbonnet saw. So I think he's interesting, especially with Simmons out of there. No interest in the Tennessee running backs. It's hard. It's hard for me to play any of those guys. I know the matchup is solid with Seattle's rush defense not being great, but it's just too hard for me to play one of those guys. I do like Lockett at 5,600 as well on the Seattle side. Targets look good, and I just think the matchup is solid for him. And then Okonkwo at tight end at 3,100 is just too cheap. He's going to be one of my favorite spin downs at tight end. If I want to fit more studs in my lineup, Justin Jefferson, he's priced up there. It may be beneficial to spin down at tight end there. But other than that, I don't love this game. I'm going to have a couple one-offs. Yeah,
makes a lot of sense there. And it is an interesting game too. I mean, we saw Derrick Henry, was it last week? He put up a like Quint Allen-esque stat line there. I don't know how many touches it was, but it was for single-digit yards. I think it was over 15 touches or whatever that he had. If you're not aware, the Syracuse running back the other day had 21 carries for 0 yards. And yes, that is a very real statistic. One of those plays was a 14-yard rushing loss, in case you're wondering how is that possible. It was a 14-yard loss and a fumble in that same play. So definitely Derrick Henry is kind of past the hill. But we do get a guy like Tyjae Spears where if they're trailing games and stuff, he's been incredible in the passing game. 4,700 is definitely a deep call, but he is projected to get some ownership, way more than any other backup running back probably gets. 5%. I do hope that Tyjae Spears does well for best ball purposes too. But yeah, I don't mind him at all. I do think that the Seahawks side is a little bit better just because I can trust that offense a little bit more. Albeit trusting Pete Carroll isn't always the best thing in the entire world. But I do think that like Lockett's a little bit too cheap. I do think that DK Metcalf sub 7K is absolutely worth a glance. The one guy that I want to go to, and I'm one of Jackson Smith and Jigba's biggest fans. I hope he does really well, and I'm glad he caught the touchdown last week. I just wouldn't go to him on a main slate at 4,500. Just a little bit too tall of a tag for the way they utilize him. Got there with the late touchdown last week with a big play deep in the end zone there, but not someone that I really want to chase. It would just be a lot of Metcalf and Lockett, and maybe mix against some Kenneth Walker at 6,200 because I like home run hitters, and home run hitters are hitting at an all-time rate right now. You saw Kenneth Walker hit a big play against the Eagles last week. You saw who was that guy? It was Rashid Shaheed hit a long touchdown on Thursday night. You saw George Pickens today. Home run hitters are doing well, and Kenneth Walker certainly fits the bill as he did last week there. So, yeah, I think the Seahawks definitely outweigh the Titans guys. I think I'm going to avoid that Titans chalk a little bit just because it's a team implied 19 total. I don't trust Tannehill completely at all. He could definitely be, adequate, but it's not something that I really want to chase. And we'll go ahead and move on to the Packers against the Carolina Panthers. And I have to say, I was able to watch some of that Panthers game against the Falcons because I had a little bit of Bijan on my regular season fantasy team that fantasy league that you're a part of no matter what. Arthur Smith is back. Bryce Young is even worse. This guy does not look like he's settled in the pocket at all. And I hope he figures it out. But as things stand right now, I don't think I'm picking a single Carolina Panther. I think the only guy I could entertain is Chuba Hubbard, who is going to be chalked this week at 17%. The Green Bay rushing defense isn't the best in the world. He is under 6K. Hubbard is the only Panther that I'd give consideration for. And that is someone who has played Mingo quite a few times in the last month. I just can't trust Bryce Young to get him the ball. Mingo is wide open for a touchdown 2 weeks ago. Bryce Young misses it, overthrows. Complete overthrow, too. It's definitely a touchdown. It's not a hyperbole at all. And then I look at the Packers side of the ball. It's the team that, should thrive. I mean, it's a 21-point total. The weather is not too bad at all. It's not bad. I could see myself going back to Dontavion Wicks at 4,300. Christian Watson is still going to be out. He's doubtful right now, so I assume he's going to be out. Wicks filled that second half with 5 catches for 97 yards or something. He is a very good player, and this isn't a fluke. His Pro Football Focus grade is absolutely great. Jaden Reed has been a touchdown machine. He gets a lot of touches around the line of scrimmage too, so he has a floor. I can see myself entertaining a low-owned Packer stack here. Snyder, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Wicks is a great target this week at 4.3K. His yards per reception is great. I mean, he's an explosive guy. Showed that last week, so I think I'm going to be overweight on Wicks there as well. He was hitting the Sims a pretty good amount as well. I don't think his ownership's going to get too out of hand either, so I like him quite a bit. I am kind of interested in this game, though. We're seeing about 80% of the tickets coming in on the Packers here. They were at -5, and it's the line's moving towards the Panthers when all the tickets are coming in on the Packers. So, there's got to be some sharp money or something back in the Panthers here, and I do like Chuba Purdy quite a bit here. This is a great spot for him. I like to target the Packers defense with running backs. They've given up 23-plus DK points in the last 4 games to opposing running backs. We get Chuba here, who's going to see – I think we're going to see him getting, 20 to 25 carries in this game like we've seen the last 3 games. That's kind of rare with the NFL this year or nowadays, and he's 5.7K. So Chuba was the guy that hit the Sims quite hard, too. He's one of the higher-owned RBs that ran in the Sims there on that base run I did. So, Chuba Hubbard's going to be one of my top running backs this week, so I'm going to be playing him at a pretty good clip. I know the total's not good in this game, but I think it's going to be kind of like a little mini with me here, like a little secondary correlation here with Chuba Hubbard and run it back with Wicks. I think it'll just be like a 1v1 here with this game for me, though. But I do like Hubbard quite a bit in this game. I think we see him go for 100-plus and a touchdown in this game.
Yeah, Chuba, definitely a good play on this side of the ball here. It's definitely a fun, a moderately more fun game than I would have thought. Tucker Kraft did really well last week, Bruce. This Packers offense was a little bit outshined by Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Bucks, but they still can hold their own. I mean, do you trust them to put up enough points against the Panthers here?
Yeah, I think the Panthers' pass defense has been pretty solid this year. I do like Wicks though. Your call there. I think he looked great last week when he was in the game. Got 78% of the snaps, 7 targets, and he just about caught every single one. I thought he looked great, and he was great at Virginia, and I loved playing him in college. So I might go there as well. He's still cheap, and Jaden Reed been good every week, 18 targets the last 2 weeks. He just involved in the run game too. You love to see that. But yeah, this game, I don't know. I've kind of thought about it a little bit leading up to the show, and Hubbard is hard to fade at that price, especially with his workload. You don't get many workhorse backs in the NFL anymore, and he's pretty close to it. 73% of snaps last week, and he looks good. He's with Green Bay's rush defense being so bad. I think he's a solid play. Aaron Jones as well. I hate playing Green Bay running backs just because they rotate quite a bit, but I think he has good upside in this one, especially with Dillon a little banged up. I know he should be back this week, but if Jones gets an increased workload over last week, he can do some damage here. I love Wicks. I think he's great. I don't want to play any Kraft this week. I think he's a good tight end, but the matchup's not great for him. And then, the Carolina tight ends are just unplayable with how many they play. And Tremble, I don't love him either. So, just mostly going to stick to the main guys, Hubbard and Wicks and Reed here.
Yeah, it wasn't until just now that I realized that Dontavian Wicks is that Virginia guy that I would click on a lot last season. Not this season, of course, but last season. So thanks for bringing back a memory that I did not know I had. But Dontavian Wicks is definitely someone that I've clicked on in the past and have been clicking on the last 2 weeks. It's been a profitable few weeks, too. 4,300, definitely not bad at all. He'd be the one Packer guy that I'm really interested in. You guys mentioned it. I mean, Hubbard is tough to avoid. 73% of the work. It's tough, too, because I drafted a ton of Miles Sanders in best ball. And, I am paying the price dearly. Chuba Hubbard has been the guy, and this is a great spot for it. Can absolutely join you guys at under 6K. Let's move on to a Florida derby. So if you're unfamiliar with what a derby is, it's when two teams close in proximity take on each other. And that's what two Florida teams, definitely right by each other, Jacksonville and Tampa Bay. But you get a fun atmosphere because the Tampa Bay Bucks have been a pass funnel for the entire season. Basically, they have conceded a ton of passing, statistics, just DFS points in general. Trevor Lawrence was cleared to play. It looks like he'll be a full go for tomorrow. And this is a game that has 6 guys with double-digit ownership, and they are 3 on the Bucks and 3 on the Jags. You got Rachaad White, Mike Evans, and Chris Godwin all projecting for double-digit ownership. On the Jacksonville side, you have Ridley, Ingram, and Etienne. This is an intriguing game because I have enjoyed attacking the Bucks. Last week, you could attack the Bucks with the Packers. They didn't quite get there, but it definitely wasn't a failure. Baker Mayfield was the Millie Maker winner, and it wasn't even close. And we saw the rebirth of Chris Godwin, who absolutely crushed last week and looked like the old Chris Godwin. Snyder, this game has a little bit of stack potential to it. Is that the route that you think you can take?
Yeah, I like this game quite a bit from both sides of the ball here. I think we could see this. I think we can see the over hit in this game pretty good. I know the over, it's only at 43 now, but I actually kind of like the over in this game as well. We got Ingram and Ridley on the Jag side of the ball. Those are the top 2 targets I would look to target there. I tried to make Parker Washington work a couple of times. He's getting the targets. It just hasn't really resulted in anything. So he's the guy I'll sprinkle in there still as well. He's still under 4K. So I think Washington's a guy you can still sprinkle in. Agnew, that the showdown play, who caught the one play a couple weeks ago, or I think it was last week, he caught that 70-yard touchdown or something on the showdown slate versus the Ravens. I probably won't be playing him this week, but he's there, I guess, if you want to try and make that work again. Godwin versus Evans. We got Evans is priced at $1,400 more. I think Godwin's going to see a little more ownership now after last week, and we've got 2 down games from Evans. But just like we always say, or Big T always says, Evans is one of those guys you just have to have in your player pool every week because you know he's going to bust off a few games a year that are going to be 30-plus point games. And wouldn't surprise me if this is one of those games. We got a close spread here, a 1-point spread, a good game here, good game flow. We should see some back and forth here. So definitely we'll be putting in both some Evans and some Godwin into teams. And then I'm going to sound like a broken record here with my guy, Rachaad White. I play him every single week. The dude legit has like a 15-point floor and 7-4. With the usage and what he's been doing this year, I think he should be priced in the 8Ks. So I think we're still getting a decent discount here with Rachaad White. So I'll be overweight on him once again. I mean, he's going to see probably 20 carries again. He's going to see work in the passing game as well. He scored a touchdown in the last 3 games. He got a receiving touchdown last week for the second straight week. So White will be probably another core play for me this week, as it's just like a plug and play for me because I know he's got that solid floor. I think he's got the safest floor outside of McCaffrey in the NFL almost even.
Yeah, he has been absolutely awesome, especially the last few weeks. He's really turned it on. It's been, kind of an interesting watch because he's not much of a runner. He's doing it a lot in the passing game, but his rushing yards have been actually respectable over the past few weeks there. So definitely don't mind that at all. Bruce, are you going to be joining him in on the Rachaad White train?
Yeah, like Snyder, I've been on Rachaad White every week too. Like I said earlier, there's not many workhorse backs left, and he's one of them. 80% of the snaps last week. The matchup is good. Jacksonville's given up 24 points per game to running backs this year, and his work in the pass game is also elite. So I will definitely have some Rachaad White tomorrow. I think he's one of the better running back plays. I'm so happy to see Trevor Lawrence suiting up tomorrow, just because I love this game with him in it. I do think, if I was maxing a tournament, I'd have one of Evans or Godwin in every lineup. I think one of them goes off. There's one of these cornerbacks, left or right side for Jacksonville is really bad, and I think one of Evans or Godwin's gonna have a big game tomorrow. I do think. I do like Calvin Ridley as well. 25 targets the last 2 weeks is just elite. Same with Zay Jones, 22 targets the last 2 weeks. And these guys are getting volume. So this game is just, you have everybody right here. It's a lot of volume there between a couple guys. So I love it. I think it's just a good game to target. And, Rachaad White's one of the better running back plays on the slate.
Yeah, I definitely like that. And I do think that, Lawrence being in, I have not been buying on Ridley since about week 3, but I do think this is an opportunity to buy on Ridley. Evan Ingram, is very good as well. It's just that the absence of Christian Kirk has kind of left a little bit of a void. And then you have Zay Jones, who his status is up in the air. I think he's going to be out for this one too. So when you said you were trying to make Parker Washington work there, Snyder, we might be able to bump him up a couple more points. 8 seems a little bit low. In a pass funnel like this against the Bucs, I mean, Parker Washington at under 4K can absolutely entertain that there on DraftKings without a doubt. I was fortunate enough to be on Agnew that night that he caught a 65-yard bomb. I won't do it on a main slate. It would definitely be a Parker Washington, Calvin Ridley, and then a big boost to a guy like Evan Ingram too, just because they're going to need someone they can rely on a little bit over the middle. And this has been a great spot for tight ends this season. I have a little bit more interest in the Jags side of the ball, but I do know that the Jags defense has not been great by any means. So if you guys are wanting to stack up this game, by all means, it is absolutely a good enough game to do. I will say this. I will be the one who goes a little bit against Rachaad White. Purely because that is my brand at this point. I've been going against him all season, and I'm not going to change in week 16 because I'm a stubborn prick. Let's go to the game of the day, and it is a banger of a game. It is the Dallas Cowboys taking on the Miami Dolphins. So the Cowboys were undressed last week on primetime television. The Buffalo Bills made them look like fools. They were ran upon like, they were a middle school team or something like that. James Cook looked like prime Adrian Peterson. It was just absolutely absurd, or prime Dalvin Cook, just bad. But he is someone where this Dallas Cowboys defense took one on the chin. How do they respond? I think they respond pretty good here. This is a game that's nearing a 50-point total. Tyreek Hill is back, and he is the only Dolphin projected for double-digit ownership. And then on the Dallas Cowboys side of the ball, it's Tony Pollard at 10% and CeeDee Lamb at 21%. Snyder, this game, like DK has been this season, has been pricing up the premier 425 game. Are you going to have much of it here?
Yeah, I'm going to try and get some pieces here in this game. This Miami defense has been kind of crazy the last 4 or 5 weeks. I mean, they've got 4, 7, 9 interceptions in the last 5 games. They've been forcing fumbles. They've been sacking the quarterback. Kind of interesting here. Just looking at the defensive game log is pretty wild there. But I definitely think this is a great bounce back spot for Dallas. I kind of honestly think both of these teams are a little fraudulent at times. Dallas is a little fraudulent on the road, and then Miami is fraudulent when they get matched up against a good team. So I think this is an interesting game. We got a total right around 50, so we should see fireworks here, though. I think we're going to get Tyreek Hill, actually. I think he's going to be fine, and I think we're going to get Tyreek probably right around 10% ownership. So I think this is a great spot to kind of fire him up at low ownership. If he does remain low ownership, as we know, he can break the slate on 2 or 3 catches alone. So I think he's a great tournament play as always. Jalen Waddle's still priced right in that mid 7K range, 7.8 this week. After he was 7.4 last week, so we got a little bit of a bump. They've been trying to get the targets to him over the last 5-6 weeks. He's seeing 8 to 9 targets every game, so he's a guy that I'll try and I'll see if it can fit in. I'll see where he lands in the Sims and stuff. If I can fit him in there. He wasn't really hitting that many on the base run, so I may have to try and bump his projection or something to get him in there a little bit more. CeeDee Lamb is a guy I was just playing every time he was at home. And I've kind of been off of him a little bit on the road. Last week, he still saw the double-digit targets like he's going to see pretty much every week. 7 for 53 last week was the first game in 5 or 6 weeks he didn't reach the end zone. So I'm not sure if I can get the CD at 9-2. We'll see how it shakes out in the Sims, because this game is tough to get to. But I think there's some good pieces here for tournaments. We'll see. I know one of the guys that was really hitting hard in the Sims was Ferguson. He's under 5K still. He was hitting at 36% of the Sims was hitting Ferguson. He's been seeing 8 targets the last 3 weeks. I think he's a great option to get a piece of this game too at a little lower a price tag there at 4.9. I think he's not going to be that high owned. Early on, I was seeing him right around 10% ownership. So I think that's another guy to kind of get a piece of this game. So I definitely do think we see points in this game. It's just going to be kind of tough to stack this up with Dak at 7.9. You got 2 at 7.8. So tough to stack this up. I will also be sprinkling in some Devin Achane, or however we're saying his name this week. He's the guy with the upside I want in this game, because we've seen him break him off here. It doesn't matter if he's only going to get 10 touches in this game or whatnot, 10 to 12 touches. He can break the slate on 4 touches alone, I think. So he's a guy I'm going to try and force in a little bit at 7-1.
Yeah, makes sense there. I mean, both wide receivers projecting for the most ownership in this game. And then, like you mentioned, Jake Ferguson could be the highest mid-tier ownership-wise, like mid-tier play from this game. Tony Pollard is kind of close, but this game doesn't have a lot of ownership. Does that make you love it more or less here, Bruce? Just because, do you think the public is right, or do you think that this could blow up?
Man, I've been cheering for the Cowboys my whole life, and it's been, last week was rough for sure. We were missing Jonathan Hankins in the middle, and he's out again this week. He's our best run stuffer, and I think if Miami wants to run the ball, they can for sure. And I like Achane. I think they said it was last week. I was listening to the morning show, and that's how they pronounced it. So I'll go with that. But I like him. I think he's the most Cook-like there, and he's fast. I think he can run on this Dallas defense. 7,100, not going to be a lot of people on him, and I think he's a sneaky little play if you need it. I think Tony Pollard is also a good play tomorrow. He's looked good here of late, and got 72% of the snaps last week, more involved in the pass game too. And they're going to need him. He's going to have a big game. Looks like Tyron Smith is also out for the Cowboys tomorrow on the line. So that's a little scary. Going on the road without your best offensive lineman is always a scary thing to ask. But I love this game. I think it has shootout potential. I don't really love this Miami defense, and I think Dak can make them pay. They don't bring the blitz as much as Buffalo did last week. So I love Dak and CD, and I think they can have big games. Even Brandon Cooks, 4,900. Got 6 targets last week. Been playing the whole game. He's due for a big game, I think. And with them trailing likely in this one, I think he can have a big game. I think Waddle and Hill. Dallas plays man defense, I think second or third most in the NFL, and that's always a recipe for disaster against Miami. Trying to cover Hill and Waddle man to man. That could be rough, unless they go to more zone tomorrow. They can have some issues there in coverage. So Hill and Waddle, they're priced up, but I think they have big games. It's tough to jam Lamb and Hill, especially with not a ton of value at running back. But I think they're great plays tomorrow, and I think they have huge games along with Ferguson as well, as you mentioned. I think he's a great play at tight end.
I have sad news. Leonard Fournette just got stuffed on a goal line run from the 1 yard line. Josh Allen just sneaked it in too. So if you're wanting the live play-by-play, Josh Allen just scored the touchdown over Leonard Fournette. I was silently tilting through all that, Bruce. I apologize, but you're right. I mean, Tyron Smith being out is kind of a little bit of a big deal, just because this Dolphins pass rush did take a little bit of a hit when Phillips went down, but it still kind of makes Dak a little bit happy feet back there. As someone who has tried to watch the Cowboys as much as I can this year, it was definitely disappointing in Buffalo, but you do have a good environment here in Miami. I do think that there could be points put up on the board here from both sides too, and I think attacking this lower ownership could be the move. I mean, we've seen Dak. He's been one of the best quarterbacks second half of the season. Sure, you can point out to last week. I'll point out to the previous 4 or 5 weeks before that too. 7,500, still a little bit high, but like I said, no one's going to play these guys. I do think that kind of going overweight on it, maybe picking up a couple pair of cheap wide receivers that we saw early on. I do think that could be the move here. Chuba Hubbard's under 6K too to make this all work. So definitely something I'm going to entertain. I do think 9,600 for Reek when he's going to take the field is a little bit high, but he's been 40% all season. And this week he's going to be 10%. Are you smarter than the injury report? Are you smarter than a guy who's going to come out and play? Because usually he'd be 40%. And I think that I will take the risk on Tyreek Hill in many lineups tomorrow. And I do think that could be the correct move. But obviously I could be wrong. I've been wrong more than times than right. And let's move on to the last game here. It is the Arizona Cardinals at the Chicago Bears. A Bears team that has implied almost 24 points here. You get Justin Fields at 7,100. You get DJ Moore at 6,900. Both are projected to be pretty chalky on the slate. Cole Kmet is currently questionable, but I do expect him to play. He is projected for a little bit of ownership as well. Seems like we can attack the Bears here, Snyder. On the Arizona Cardinals side of the ball, we get what Marquise Brown is going to miss out in this one here, right? Marquise Brown.
Yep, he's out.
Out. Perfect. So Trey McBride, obviously the number one receiver in that Arizona, number one pass catcher, I should say, for this Arizona Cardinal team. But our guy, Michael Wilson, we always talk about him, it seems. Michael Wilson's only 3,700, could operate as one of the main targets for Kyler Murray this week. Seems like great value. You also have Greg Dortch, Rondale Moore. It seems like it could be a sneaky good game to stack up, Snyder.
Yeah, I think there's possibility here for some back and forth, though. We got the nut spot here with the Bears against this Cardinals defense that's given up around 30 points per game this year. I mean, this Arizona defense has just been getting gashed by every team they face. I think they've only given up less than 20 points once this year. So you get Justin Fields in a positive script at home against this defense. So I think we see Fields put up 30 plus in this game. Love Fields. I love the connection with Moore there as well. He's under 7K. I think he's too cheap here for this matchup at this spot. This is one of those spots we see DJ Moore go for like 8 catches, 125 yards, and 2 touchdowns or something like that. So I'm going to be heavy on DJ Moore this week. I think we see him put up 25 plus again in this spot. He's had 4 or 5 games with those this year, and it's all been with Justin Fields at quarterback. So it's lining up to be a great smash spot for DJ Moore this week. So I'm going to be overweight on him quite a bit. And then I do have some interest in like Michael Wilson at 3.7K. Maybe we get some maybe Greg Dortch. I think he's questionable right now, Greg Dortch, but he's someone to kind of monitor going forward. We may get some Rondale Moore if he's out. Darnell Mooney is another guy for the Bears that I will even be double stacking with Fields there. His snaps are still up there. Saw 8 targets last week, 7 targets and 8 targets the last 2 weeks. Just hasn't been able to do anything with him yet. And this is the nut spot, though. If he gets 7 or 8 targets again in this spot at 3.3K, I think we see Mooney put up 15 to 20 points in this game. So he's another one of those cheap guys with those other guys that I mentioned throughout the show. There's 3 or 4 of these cheapies that I'm going to be sprinkling in and trying, hoping one of them can kind of pop there as a cheapie to kind of open up some things salary-wise. And I might even play a couple of them. If you want to play that game we just talked about, the Dallas and Miami game, if you plug in 2 of these 3K receivers, that really opens things up to kind of stack up that game that we just talked about. So I'll be looking to do that as well. From the Cardinals side, we generally like to target, at least I like to target Kyler Murray as an underdog. The trends, the stats back Kyler Murray as an underdog more so than as a favorite. So I think Murray is even fine at 6'4" if you want to try and make that work with some of those pass catchers as well. James Conner was kind of hitting a little bit in the Sims. I think he was hitting right around 15%. So I'm going to dive into him a little bit more too going into tomorrow. But I think this is a great fantasy environment. I know Fields is probably going to be the highest owned quarterback on the slate, but I'm just going to eat that chalk, I think.
Yeah, it's a good point there, too. I mean, definitely these cheap wide receivers for the Cardinals could be the move here. Bruce, what say you about this Arizona cheapies and then even the Bears side, too, with a team implied total of 24 almost?
Yeah, I think it starts with Trey McBride this game. His target share has been so good on the field the whole game. So especially if they're trailing, you want to stack this up and play Fields with Kmet and DJ Moore. You can run it back with McBride, who's more than likely going to see 10 plus targets or so. Especially in that kind of game script. Kmet's 4,400 again. It seems like when Fields goes off, Kmet's right there with him, catching a touchdown or 2. So I think this game is solid for stacks. It's so hard to play these Bears running backs, even though the spot is so good. Last week Roshan got 51% of the snaps, and then Foreman and Herbert got about 25% each. So. And it's just rough, even though the spot's good. Arizona's given up 34 points per game to running backs, and if you can somehow get that right, you can maybe take down that Millie with under a sub 5K running back. Connor's a good play, with his involvement in the passing game and touchdown upside too. I think he's a good play. That's pretty much it. I do like this game. Mooney, like you said, 15 targets the past 2 weeks. He looks good. A decent pivot off of Moore and Kmet.
Yeah, Mooney with a Hail Mary sat in his lap and somehow didn't catch it.
Hey.
3.3K, though, is definitely a good tag. Someone who can hit a home run. I'll call it home run hitter. Darnell Mooney there could definitely be someone who can make some noise there. It took me a while to scroll down from the first Joe Flacco quarterback lineup that wasn't one of the top teams in the contest sims. And that first team is Justin Fields with DJ Moore and Cole Kmet. And what is pushing, too, is a lot of double tight end builds because I think it does like double tight end or 3 running backs this week. I think that seems to be the move. It doesn't seem like it likes 4 wide receivers. And with the way Trey McBride has been performing, with the way David Njoku has been performing, and the way that the entire tight end position has been doing, I absolutely see that double tight end could be very viable. I do think that Cole Kmet at 4,400 does open up some things. And when when Justin Fields goes off, Cole Kmet is definitely there pacing with him. Like you said, Bruce, definitely don't mind double tight end builds this week. Before we go, I have to get your play of the day. And Bruce, since you're new here, the play of the day cannot be over 20% owned, or else you are banished and you have to sit in a Waffle House for 24 hours. That just became a rule 5 seconds ago. So make sure that you remember that when you get your play of the day ready. We'll start with Snyder. So Snyder, who is your Week 16 NFL play of the day? And wait, hold on. Because we have a 3-game Christmas slate, I don't want to leave the viewers short. Merry Christmas to everyone. I hope that you guys have a great Christmas, a great holiday, whatever you celebrate. Hopefully everything is great with you. Go ahead and gut check Christmas Day play of the day. There's no ownership rules applied to that, Snyder.
All right, I'll come back to that one then. But for my play of the day on the main slate, I'm going to go with Chuba Hubbard. I think he's going to be somewhere in that 10 to 15% ownership range is where I'm seeing him at right now, and I think this is a great spot for him. I love the price tag at 5.7. I think he goes over 100 yards this week and scores 1 or 2 touchdowns this week.
Love it. So Chuba Hubbard, and we'll circle back to you here after Bruce gives his picks here. And I'm purposely going to stall just in case Bruce needed to look at that 3-game NFL slate. Giblets 44% off your first payment here, whether it's a week or whether it's a month. Join us here at Run Pure. It's not just NFL, it's every single sport. It's from college football, college basketball, soccer, to everything upwards to NFL. So let's go ahead and dig into these 2 plays here. Bruce, you can start, and if you need time, just let me know. Who is your Week 16 play of the day for the Christmas Eve and Christmas slate?
I'm going to go Tyreek Hill for my play of the day. It was in between him and Nico Collins, and both are going to be super low owned. So I like Tyreek. I think he has a big game, I don't have the ownership in front of me for the Christmas Day slate, but I'm going to go Lamar Jackson. I don't know, don't know the ownership, but I think he has a big game in San Francisco.
Well, the good news is I forgave the ownership rule for the Christmas Day slate. So you're good with Lamar Jackson. Okay. I do appreciate that. So Tyreek Hill, the play of the day for tomorrow, Christmas Eve. He is projecting for 10% ownership right now, and Lamar Jackson for Christmas Day. Snyder mentioned that he would come back to Christmas Day slate here right now, and his play of the day was Chuba Hubbard. So, Snyder, are you ready to give your Christmas play of the day?
Yeah, I'm going to do a little correlation then with Bruce. He's got Lamar. I'm going to go with Isaiah Likely then at 4.2K to kind of stack that up. The Niners have given up big games to tight ends in the last 2 weeks, so I think Likely continues that trend and goes for 20+ in this matchup on the road against the 49ers. Hopefully my Ravens can get it done. Not really feeling the greatest right now with the spread moving up to 6, but we'll see. I mean, Lamar Jackson's been just phenomenal as an underdog in his career. And then versus the NFC as well. He's 19-3 versus the NFC. So we'll see if those trends carry on into Christmas Day.
Absolutely. That's real nice. Isaiah Likely, he was a popular first touchdown pick on the Showdown show last week, and he was the first touchdown against the Jaguars there. I'm going to go a tight end as well, but for the Christmas Eve slate, and that is David Njoku, currently projecting for around 10 to 11% ownership. A great spot going against the Texans, who have been very poor against opposing tight ends, and Njoku has been an absolute stud the last few weeks. So Njoku is my Christmas Eve play of the day, and when I go to Christmas, you are right, though, Bruce. It does look like Lamar Jackson might sneak in under 20%. Not that that was a rule or anything like that. It is nice to see. I think that I am going to go with the San Francisco 49ers, and I just think that Brandon Ayuk has a great day at under 7K. He is my Christmas play of the day, and a bonus one, too, just because, we have an NBA channel. We do a lot of NBA content. My NBA play of the day is I have to talk myself into not fading Luka against Devin Booker, because Luka hates Devin Booker and will absolutely own him on the court. Bruce shaking his head because he is a Dallas Mavericks fan a little bit there. He lives in the Dallas area, so he is definitely on board with that. Again, if we don't win the $1 million, if it's not Snyder, if it's not Bruce, if it's not me, we hope it's one of y'all. Hopefully you have a great, happy holidays, a great Christmas, and I hope that you guys join us again for next week. And again, run pure.